There's no doubt that the COVID vaccine was a triumph of science, a triumph of medicine. It was rolled out at an extremely fast rate and it saved lives. It saved the lives of elderly and vulnerable people. However, we also know there were huge side effects as a result of these vaccines, and there's a lot we can talk about the way they were developed, the R&D side of this, and the way we were talking about it, they were developed in parallel as opposed to the way that you would normally do it in series. So also I want to pick up on a number of other things, which is of course about Lisa Shaw, who died, mother of one, Lisa Shaw, who worked for BBC Radio Newcastle, who died after she got vaccine-induced thrombocytopenia in May 2021. She only had one AstraZeneca COVID jab. Also, Angus Dalgleish, who's really interesting, a professor of oncology, that means a professor of cancer. He's based at St George's at the University of London. And he's written a letter where he actually says that he believes that there is a reason to halt vaccine programmes. And I'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But joining us now is Dr. Bharat Pankhania, who is Senior Clinical Lecturer at the University of Exeter Medical School. Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope I did that justice. The vaccine rollout was a triumph in many ways, of science, of medicine, actually also in terms of logistics. It saved lives of the elderly and the vulnerable. We have heard, and Renee and I have experience of people who've had profound side effects as a result of these vaccines, and some of those people, and many of those people, should never have been vaccinated in the first place, in my humble opinion. Where do you sit on this?
So the vaccine invention was a triumph, because if we had not invented successful vaccines, then tragically many more people would have died, without a doubt. You and I are free to roam around London and the United Kingdom and around the world because either the vaccines or the infection that we've had has now protected us. So it freed us. The trouble is, like with all medicines, medical interventions, we do have rare side effects or rare outcomes. And with those rare outcomes, you only know about it when you have deployed the vaccines in the hundreds and thousands and millions. And we accept that with the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, there was a interaction with the adenovirus that was used, the chimpanzee adenovirus that was used, which in a few people, 1 in 10,000, binded with a certain protein on platelets and caused what you just described, thrombotic thrombocytopenia, reduced platelets, and clots. Now, this is interesting. Clots in unusual places, like cerebral venous sinus and other places. So it's, but the trouble is, one more thing I must add is these people may have had those same clots were they to have got infected too, because we know that COVID-19 infection per se also caused clots.
OK, let me just turn to what Angus Dalgleish, this professor of oncology, says. He has written a letter. He talks about the vaccine programme, saying that COVID no longer needs a vaccine programme because the average age of death, and this is what Renee said at the beginning of the show, is actually 81. Renee said 82, but so let's say early 80s. But he goes on to say there's a reason to halt the programme of vaccination. He is an oncologist, obviously a professor of oncology. He says he's seeing people with a stable disease rapidly progress after having, and this is crucial, the booster. This is the third one. And this is what many people have said to us this morning. It's that third one that seems to be causing problems. I'm seeing B-cell based disease after the booster. So people distinctly unwell for a few days after the booster, one developing leukemia, another non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, people getting multiple metastases from a rare B-cell disorder. Do you think there is now a reason to say, look, actually, we've immunised the vast majority of the public. Those people, as you rightly say, didn't die as a result. Should we now halt all vaccination unless you are in an extremely vulnerable category?
No, the shortest possible answer. And furthermore, he may be a professor of oncology. There are processes and there are ways of investigating these things. I'm not being dismissive of anything, but just because one person, one place seems to think that there is cause and effect that doesn't mean that that is a proven cause and effect. And furthermore, we live in a free society, and because we live in a free, independent scientific society, it's not only one scientist who is working on this thing. There are hundreds and thousands of scientists all over the world looking at are there links, are there causes, are there effects? So for the benefit of our viewers, our listeners, my advice as a communicable disease control expert is the best protection that we have, especially in the vulnerable groups, pregnant mothers, people with diabetes, reduced immunity. The best solution we have thus far is the vaccines.
So let me just now point you to another study. This is a new study which was published on the 16th of April in Nature Communications. It looks at the mRNA vaccines, and it also goes on to say post-vaccine vaccination myocarditis is now easily defined, and also it looks at the rates of cardiac death. It also goes on to say that the risk for young females seems to be far higher than for young males. Why would you vaccinate young, healthy people? They don't need this vaccine.
Calm down, calm down, calm down. Look, vaccine programs are there for protection. Now, I must emphasize again, these are rare events from the vaccine from which you make a faster recovery with myocarditis. And I repeat again, with respect to the infection per se, so if you have a propensity to, for example, make clots in a rare event, the infection may give you the clots. If you have the propensity, and we don't really understand why some people have the propensity and some don't, you may get infection-induced myocarditis, which is a lot worse and takes a lot longer to recover from. But I do agree that we have to monitor, we have to watch, and then we have to review things. But we can't just say that we abandon the entire vaccine program.
I'm saying for young people. For young people. Let me just pick you up on something you said. You said these side effects are rare. I don't believe that. Hang on a minute. Why is this switchboard lit up? Why are we getting all these messages? Why are clinicians like Renee, like me, like many of our colleagues also seeing these effects? How do you actually explain to my mother why she was very fit and well? She had a booster. She's now got myeloma. She has myocarditis, which we know was caused by that vaccine. I wish she'd never had that booster, to be honest.
Look, I'm very sorry for your mum having a very important and difficult situation, myeloma. That's a very serious thing. But listen, you're a doctor, and you should know better that you shouldn't do cause and effect just like that and say to the
Well, that
audience,
was actually that causation was proved by UCLA in Los Angeles.
Well, they may do, but that doesn't mean that UCLA Los Angeles is the font of all knowledge and it's always right. Come on, you're educated. You know this better than for me to remind you that you shouldn't just ascribe cause and effect just because you think UCLA or one professor or some other place has done it. We have checks, we have balances, we have monitoring bodies. Okay. And you need to have faith in these things.
Okay, maybe I'm too close to this because I'm pretty angry about the whole...
Indeed, I'm sorry for you.
No, indeed. Yeah. But we're hearing all these stories. So we've heard all these stories all morning about people getting transverse myelitis. We've heard about people with neuropathies. We've heard about people with inoperable tumours that they didn't have before the vaccine. Now, obviously, I cannot say that's cause and effect, but at the same time, it does seem incredibly odd. Renee.
Okay, so hello, Barrett. Morning to you.
Morning.
I just thought I'd put in here just to put some light on this in terms of what you're saying about cause and effect. So in terms of the yellow card system, I've just got a document which shows that look at other vaccines. So look at all measles vaccines where 673 million people have had the measles vaccines and there have been 48,000 adverse events recorded. If we go to the polio vaccine, same number of people have had it, 8,982 adverse events recorded. We go to COVID-19, 341 million have had the vaccine. 1,800,000 adverse events recorded. So whatever we say, Barrett, in terms of people that are recording adverse events, comparing it to other vaccines, it is off the scale.
Barrett?
What do you mean it's off the scale? The vaccine program is still ongoing, and you're referring to, one monitoring place in one country. You need to look at it internationally, and you need to look at it in proportion to the number of vaccines already delivered.
This is internationally.
And with respect to the lives saved. Rather than, what do you want to do? Not immunize? What
I would like to do? No, not at all. Not at all, Barrett. I've never said that. What I've said is we should have targeted this vaccine to the people that really, really needed it. The elderly, the immune suppressed, as you say, although the argument is that people that are immune suppressed won't respond to the vaccine anyway. And I saw that in my family with someone with on dialysis who didn't have any antibodies at all to any vaccine. And then to the people who may have been clinically affected by COVID. We shouldn't have rolled out a vaccine that wasn't tested to children, to young people who didn't need it. In my very small GP practice, we have had 3 cardiac events. One of those,
young people.
the young person's life has been changed forever. He has been rejected from the army because he now has myocardial fibrosis. So your other argument about the myocarditis from vaccines being very simple and very quickly to respond isn't always the case.
Yes, but your patient, and remember, listen, both of you are supposed to be educated and knowledgeable.
So you're saying we're not educated?
Well, not on this subject, no, because you're trying to ascribe on the basis of a small sample size.
Barrett, I'm being asked by a lot of people, are you representing pharmaceutical companies? Do you have any pharmaceutical interest?
Nobody ever pays me for anything. I have never been represented by anyone, ever, at all.
It's worth asking and making sure of that clarity.
No, I'm absolutely happy to tell you so, that nobody funds me.
Okay.
In fact,
but do you not see what we're saying? We're saying,
I hear you.
Yeah, we are saying that we have seen all of these people with really debilitating side effects. I don't disagree. The elderly and the vulnerable should have been immunised. That changed their lives. It saved their lives. But what Renee and I both agree on is there is no, as far as I can see, there is no reason to give young people this vaccine when COVID actually doesn't affect them.
Probably no one under 50 was healthy.
Listen, we've had a lot of young people also hospitalised with serious infection. And the aim of controlling and reducing the spread of the virus equals immunizing vulnerable people, protecting others. And that is why the the Joint Committee on Vaccines and Immunization deliberated, and you can read all their minutes, and then the vaccine program was rolled out. It wasn't at the whim of a few people who thought, oh, that's a good idea, let's do it.
Well, no, you're right there, Barrett. Of course, we have the JCVI, but they actually did not want to vaccinate children. And then they were put under pressure, and they did it reluctantly, saying they were doing it for social reasons. So, you can't totally say that the JCVI... and they did. I've read the minutes, Barrett, so there's no good frowning. I've read the minutes. They said that they were actually deciding, having changed their mind from 2 weeks earlier, where they said...
Well, it just goes to show that it wasn't a straightforward, easy decision, rather than to say that, oh, it was just, we thought,
Or you might say there was too much political pressure applied.
Well, I don't see how Matt Hancock et al. Are scientists to say, I want to immunize children, full stop. It has to be a scientific reason, and that is why we have MHRA, JCVI, and others who get together, deliberate. These are not decisions made lightly.
Barrett, I'm so sorry, we have to finish there. We could talk for ages. That's Dr. Barrett Pankhania, who's Senior Clinical Lecturer at the University of Exeter Medical School. I mean, my screen has completely lit up. As
my mum is texting me, I know, that she's going to be mad.